The colony of Havenfield was calm, just like any other day. The sun above the silver sky domes shone softly, and the people of the human outpost went about their routines. It was a small but peaceful place, far from Earth, where humans had learned to grow food, build homes, and live in harmony. Noel, a quiet engineer, walked across the garden field with his tool bag slung over one shoulder. He worked on keeping the climate systems running. His life was simple plants, machines, and a hot cup of tea every evening. But on this day, something strange happened. A golden spaceship appeared in the sky, large and silent. It didn't come crashing or shaking the ground. It floated gently, like a leaf on water, and landed in the open center of Havenfield. People stared in surprise. Children stopped playing. Adults froze in their steps. From the ship, a ramp opened, and out came a tall figure wrapped in shining robes. Her skin was pale with a soft glow. Her eyes were violet like the evening sky. On her head sat a silver crown that blinked with light. "I am Princess Velia of the Zilari Empire," she said loudly, her voice clear and smooth. "I come in peace, as a guest and a researcher." The colony leader, an older man named Mason, stepped forward. "You are most welcome, Princess. May we ask the purpose of your visit?" Velia smiled. "I wish to study humans, your customs, your thoughts, your biology." People looked at each other, unsure of what she meant. Velia continued, "It has come to our attention that your species cannot reproduce year-round. This seems inefficient and strange. I require proof." Gasps and awkward coughs filled the air. One person near the back chuckled. It was Noel. He didn't mean to laugh, but her words were so direct it surprised him. Velia turned her eyes toward him. "Did I say something incorrect?" Noel scratched the back of his head. "It's just ... that's not how it works. There's a bit more to it than seasons." Velia tilted her head. "Explain." "It's not really something you just explain in one sentence," he replied. Feeling every eye on him, the princess took a step forward. "Then you will show me." Noel blinked. "What?" "You will be my guide, my human subject. I have selected you." Mason cleared his throat. "Your Highness, maybe we should assign a team." "No," Velia said. He was honest. He laughed. "That shows awareness of truth. I prefer him." Noel looked around. "I'm not even a scientist. I fix water pipes." "Excellent," said Velia. "A working human, that is better." "Where do you live?" Noel rubbed his forehead. "Just outside the north field, small cabin." Velia smiled again. "Perfect. I will stay there, for science." By the next hour, Velia had already moved into Noel's cabin. She brought strange floating boxes that beeped and clicked. She placed scanners near his bed, by his plants, even in the kitchen. Noel didn't know what half of them did. "Princess, you can't just call Velia," she said, while writing notes on a glowing screen. "You will be my reference mail. I will monitor your behavior, diet, rest cycle, and emotional fluctuations." "That sounds intense." Velia looked up. "Do not worry. I am trained in 17 species studies. You will not be harmed." "That's comforting," Noel said dryly. She handed him a small tablet. "Please answer these questions before bed." Noel glanced at it. "How flirty do you feel today on a scale of 1 to 10? "Yes," she replied. "Daily data is necessary." Noel sighed and sat down at the table. "You Zilari really don't waste time." "We value clarity," Velia said, adjusting one of the hovering devices. "Also, I brought my own pillow." That evening, the entire colony talked about it. "Did you hear? The alien princess is living with Noel." Someone whispered. "Is he part of some test?" asked another. Some were worried, but others laughed. Inside the cabin, Noel made tea. Velia sat on the couch, scanning the room. "Your home is very square," she said. "It's what I could build," Noel said. Square is easier, she nodded. Efficient. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Velia asked, "Do you feel strange having me here?" "Only a little," Noel said honestly. "You're not exactly a quiet guest." She smiled. "That means I am doing well." Noel looked at her closely. She wasn't rude, just a different. Like someone who didn't understand human habits but wanted to learn. "I'll answer your questions," he said, sipping his tea. "But if you're going to study humans, it's not just about science. You'll need to learn about feelings, choices, timing." Velia looked thoughtful. "Then I will add a new column to my data." Noel laughed. Velia tilted her head again. "Was that funny?" "A little," he said. She smiled wider. "Then this experiment may succeed after all." The next morning, Noel woke up to the sound of soft humming. At first, he thought the heater was acting up again. But when he opened his eyes, he saw Princess Velia floating 3 inches above the floor, slowly turning in a circle. Her eyes were closed, and her arms were stretched out like she was catching sunlight. "What are you doing?" Noel asked, still half asleep. "I am syncing my inner rhythm to your planet's rotation," Velia said calmly. "Zalari bodies adjust better this way. Also, it helps with mood balance." "Well, I usually just drink tea," Noel replied. Sitting up and rubbing his eyes, Velia landed gently and picked up her glowing tablet. "Good morning, reference mail. Today's tasks will include emotional observation, meal tracking, and scent analysis." "Scent analysis?" Noel asked, raising an eyebrow. "I must learn if mood changes affect body smell." "I will scan your skin after breakfast," Noel sighed. "I miss when my biggest problem was a broken greenhouse pipe." After breakfast, Velia followed Noel around the colony. Wherever he went, she was a few steps behind, floating silently or scribbling notes. She watched him talk to other colonists, fix a water valve, and eat a sandwich. She asked many questions. "Why do you smile when you greet others? Why do you eat with your hands when tools are available? Why do you say 'I'm fine' when your face shows clear tiredness?" Noel answered as best he could, but sometimes he just said, "Because we're human." That answer only made her write more. In the afternoon, Velia joined Noel in his small garden. He was fixing the solar fan that kept the air fresh for his tomatoes. She floated beside him, holding a small blue scanner. "I noticed you tend to your plants daily," Velia said. "You feel emotional connection with them?" "Not really," Noel replied. "I just like watching them grow. It's peaceful." "Interesting." She said, "You prefer calmness. I will add that to your personality chart." She scanned his hands. Slight increase in warmth. Could be sun exposure or emotional activity. "Probably just the sun," Noel said with a smile. As evening came, they returned to the cabin. Velia sat at the table with her tablet, reviewing her notes. Noel made tea, this time for both of them. He handed her a cup, and she stared at it. "You don't drink tea on your planet?" Noel asked. "We drink nutrient liquid through tubes," Velia replied. "That sounds boring." She sipped carefully. Her face stayed blank for a moment, then slowly changed. "This is warm and sweet. I feel a strange comfort." "That's tea," Noel said with a grin. Velia looked surprised. "Your food changes how you feel?" "Sometimes." "Yeah, especially when shared with someone." She nodded slowly. "That is very human." Later that night, Velia placed her scanning device near the couch where she planned to sleep. Noel sat on his bed, filling out the daily questionnaire she gave him. Question 1. "Did you feel romantic interest today?" Noel glanced at Velia and quickly checked, "No." Question 2. "Did you experience emotional confusion when near me?" He paused, then also checked, "No." Question 3. "If you could choose a companion for long space travel, would you prefer someone logical or emotional?" Noel smiled and chose a mix of both. "Finished?" Velia asked from her seat. Yeah, Noel replied. Want me to print your report? No need. I will download it directly, she said, tapping her device. Then she asked, Can I ask you something? Not from the form? Sure. Why did you agree to help me? She asked, eyes focused. Noel thought for a moment. I guess. You seemed lost, even if you didn't show it. And I thought maybe you needed someone who wasn't afraid to laugh. Velia tilted her head. That is not scientific. But it feels valuable. Outside the cabin, the stars were starting to appear. Havenfield was quiet, and the golden ship still sat in the middle of the colony like a giant pearl. Inside, something had started to change, not in charts or scans, but in something both Velia and Noel didn't fully understand yet. They didn't speak more that night. But when the lights dimmed and both prepared for rest, Velia whispered softly, Thank you, reference mail. Today was ... interesting. Noel smiled in the dark. Just Noel is fine. Then thank you, just Noel. He laughed quietly. Close enough. Over the next few days, Velia followed Noel everywhere. She never got tired, never seemed bored, and never stopped asking questions. Why do you humans hum while working? Why do you name your tools? Why does toast smell better then it tastes? Noel gave honest answers, though sometimes he just laughed. Velia, always serious, wrote down his every word. But slowly, even she started to show something different. She smiled more, tilted her head less, and even laughed once, though it surprised her more than anyone. It happened when Noel showed her a video of goats slipping on ice. This is not educational, Velia said, but it's funny, Noel replied. Then, as one goat slid and flipped in slow motion, Velia made a strange sound. Her eyes widened. Did I just laugh? You did, Noel said, grinning. Velia stared at her tablet. I must record this. That evening, they sat outside the cabin. The sky above Havenfield was full of soft stars and 2 small moons. Noel handed Velia another cup of tea. She took a sip, nodded, then asked, What is love? Noel nearly dropped his cup. That's a big question. I've seen humans hold hands. Sometimes they stare into each other's eyes without speaking. Other times they grow quiet when sitting close. I do not understand. Well, Noel said, thinking carefully, love isn't just one thing. It's wanting to be with someone. Not because you have to, but because it feels right. It's comfort, safety, laughter, patience. Velia blinked slowly. So it is not a requirement for survival. No, but it makes life better. She looked up at the stars. Zalari do not have such feelings. We bond when cycles align. No more, no less. Sounds lonely. It is ... stable. But do you ever get excited just to see someone's face? Velia turned to look at him. That is not in our design. Noel didn't say anything. He just sipped his tea and looked out into the sky. The next day, Velia joined Noel at the workshop. He was fixing a broken water purifier. You always repair things, she said. That's my job. But you do more than fix machines. You grow plants, you make tea. You bring your neighbor warm bread. That's just kindness. Kindness is not logical. It uses time and energy. It also makes people smile. Velia watched him carefully. Humans are not just biological. You single quotes read ... emotional builders. I like that, Noel said with a grin. You're learning. She looked pleased. I will record that in today's report. Later that afternoon, they visited the colony library. Velia wanted to understand human history. She asked for books, videos, and cultural notes. She read about music, holidays, and art. She watched an old romantic movie and kept pausing to ask questions. Why is this character crying? He's afraid of losing someone. But they are not in danger. No, but the heart doesn't always wait for danger. She nodded slowly. I may need a second viewing. That night, she tried music. Noel gave her a small speaker. He played a slow, peaceful song. Velia sat perfectly. Still, this sound makes me feel quiet inside. That's what good music does. She looked at him. Noel, do you think humans are better than Zalari? No, just different. You understand stars. We understand hugs. Velia smiled. Perhaps we should exchange knowledge more often. One morning, Velia surprised Noel by handing him a small box. What's this? He asked. A gift. It is tradition on Zalari to offer something personal when friendship is confirmed. Inside the box was a tiny crystal that changed color when touched. It reads emotion, Velia explained. When held, it reflects the holder's feeling. Noel picked it up. The crystal turned light blue. That means calm, Velia said. Very stable, Noel smiled. It's beautiful, thank you. Velia tilted her head. I am learning. That gifts are not always for study. Sometimes they are simply gestures. Exactly, Noel replied. And this one means a lot. That night, a light rain fell over Havenfield. Noel and Velia stood under the small awning outside the cabin. This rain, Velia said softly, feels like a memory. You've been here just a week. Yes, she said, looking up. But every day feels long in a good way. Maybe that's what learning does to time, Velia turned to him. When I arrived, I thought humans were less efficient too. Emotional, too slow. But now, I think you carry something rare. What's that? Choice. You don't just follow biology. You choose who to care for, when to speak, when to wait. You build meaning. Noel looked at her. That's probably the nicest thing a princess has ever said to me. Velia blinked. I hope I am not becoming emotional. No, Noel said gently. You're becoming human-friendly. She smiled again. Then maybe this experiment is working better than expected. One bright morning, Noel was watering his small garden while Velia sat nearby, recording notes on her glowing tablet. She watched the way he carefully checked each plant, smiled at the blooming tomatoes, and wiped his hands gently on his cloth. I noticed something new, she said. What's that? Noel asked. You speak to your plants, softly, almost like they can hear you. Noel smiled. Maybe they can. But I think kindness helps everything grow, even things without ears. Velia looked at him thoughtfully. That is very human. Just then, a sharp beep came from Velia's wristband. Her calm expression changed. She tapped the device, and a bright hologram appeared in the air. A serious voice echoed, Princess Velia, this is Emperor Zorvak. Your time with the humans has passed the agreed limit. Return to the ship immediately. The hologram showed the face of a tall, proud Zalari male with deep silver eyes. He wore a robe filled with glowing symbols. His voice was deep and firm. Velia stood up quickly. Father, I am still collecting important data, the Emperor frowned. We have received reports. You are living with a human male. You are laughing, drinking tea, ignoring protocols. This is not science. This is emotional contamination. Noel stayed quiet. He didn't want to cause trouble, but the words stung. Velia replied calmly. I have discovered things that no lab could show. Humans are more complex than expected. They deserve our respect. The Emperor didn't look convinced. You will return. Final shuttle arrives tomorrow. This is not a request. The hologram faded. Velia stood silently for a moment. Noel walked over. That didn't sound like good news, he said gently. No, Velia said. They believe. I failed the mission. They think I've gone soft. Have you? He asked with a smile. She looked at him, unsure. I don't know, but I don't feel wrong. The rest of the day felt heavy. Velia still followed Noel, still took notes. But her smile was gone. Her eyes, once full of energy, now looked distant in the evening. She sat on the wooden bench outside the cabin, holding the crystal she had given Noel earlier. It now glowed a soft green. Noel sat beside her. What does green mean? Unsure. Emotion. Conflict between thought and feeling, she said quietly. It's rare. They sat in silence. The soft sound of night insects filled the air. Finally, Noel spoke. You don't have to stay, but if you ever come back, not for science, but just because you want to, I'd be happy. Velia turned her head. You would wait? I don't think you're just a princess. You're someone who listens, someone who learns. That's rare too. Velia looked at him for a long time. You are not what I expected, Noel. I get that a lot. She laughed softly. It was quiet, but real. As the sun set, lights from the royal ship blinked in the distance. The final shuttle was already on its way. Back in the cabin, Velia packed her things into a small floating cube. The scanner devices, the data files, the research logs, everything was ready to go. But one thing remained on the table, the crystal. Still glowing green. I will leave it with you, Velia said. Are you sure? It belongs where it was. Most honest, Noel didn't say anything. He just placed it gently in a wooden box beside his bed. Then he turned to her. You've changed since you got here, Velia nodded. I feel different. I don't know if it's wrong or just ... new. New isn't bad, Noel said. It just means you're growing. She smiled. That's something humans and plants have in common. Later, they walked together to the center of Havenfield where the shuttle waited. A few colonists waved goodbye. Some looked curious, others sad. The golden shuttle doors opened with a soft hum. A Zalari officer stepped out, bowing slightly. Princess. Your return is required. Velia looked at Noel one last time. Thank you, just Noel, he chuckled. You remembered. She reached out and gently touched his hand, a rare gesture for her kind. Then she turned, stepped into the shuttle, and disappeared inside. The doors closed. The shuttle rose into the air. And Noel stood there, quiet, watching until the lights vanished into the stars. Back in the cabin, the place felt still. Noel looked at the empty chair, the unused teacup, and the small garden she used to sit near. He picked up the crystal again. This time, it glowed soft blue. The next morning in Havenfield was quiet. Noel sat on the front steps of his cabin, drinking tea and watching the sky. The garden looked the same. The wind still moved the leaves. But without Velia, everything felt different. He missed her questions, her serious face when she tried to understand jokes, even her scanner that beeped every few minutes. The silence now felt too loud. Noel held the small crystal she left behind. It still glowed soft blue, calm, but inside he didn't feel calm at all. He wondered what Velia was doing right now. Was she back in her spaceship, filling out reports? Was she sitting quietly, thinking about her time here? Or had she already forgotten everything? He didn't know that far above the colony, in the Zalari ship, Velia stood inside her private chamber. Her room was full of silver lights, smooth walls, and quiet machines. Everything was perfect, clean, controlled, and silent. But her heart felt heavy. She looked at her research file on the screen. It was filled with hundreds of pages, notes about human behavior, emotional cycles, food patterns, and more. Yet none of it felt complete. She remembered Noel's laugh, the way he fixed broken things with care, how he gave without asking for anything in return, how he said, "You're welcome," after she said thank you, even though no one had taught her that word before. She placed her hand over the screen and closed her eyes. This data is not enough, she whispered. Something is missing. Velia opened the ship's main communication panel. She activated a wide broadcast on the Zalari learning network. Her voice echoed across screens on many ships and planets. This is Princess Velia of House Zorvok. I have completed a direct study of the human colony named Havenfield. But my report is not just about physical patterns. I have learned something greater. Humans live by choice. They feel deeply. They build not only with tools, but with kindness and care. If we see them only as scientific samples, we lose their truth. I will return to the colony, not as a researcher, but as someone still learning. I invite the Council to reconsider how we view emotional species. She ended the message and stood still. Seconds later, an alert appeared on her screen. Return to home planet immediately. Disobedience will be reviewed. Velia took a deep breath. Then she whispered to herself, I am not afraid. Back on Havenfield, the broadcast reached the colony's main hub. The colonists gathered as the message played. Noel stood in the back, eyes wide, heart pounding. He couldn't believe it. She was coming back. The next day, a soft humming filled the sky. Everyone looked up. Velia's golden ship floated down slowly and landed near the same field it had before. This time there was no crowd. Only Noel stood waiting. The door opened. Velia stepped out, wearing the same silver robe, but her eyes looked brighter, more peaceful. You really came back, Noel said, smiling. Yes, Velia replied. Not as your observer, but maybe as your guest. Noel nodded. You're always welcome. They walked side by side back to the cabin. Later that evening, they sat together near the garden. Won't your people be upset? Noel asked. They already are, Velia said. But it's all right. Sometimes change begins with someone who breaks the pattern. Noel looked at her. You sure you're not in trouble? I may be. But I spoke the truth. And sometimes, truth makes space for new paths. He looked at her hands, resting calmly in her lap. I missed your strange questions, he said. I missed your strange answers, she replied. They both laughed softly. Over the next few days, things began to change in Havenfield. Velia no longer scanned Noel's body temperature every morning. Instead, she helped him fix broken fans, learned how to bake bread, and even painted a flower pot. She started writing a new report, one not meant for scientists, but for both humans and Zalari children. It was called What I Learned from a Human Who Smiled Too Much. In it, she described tea, tomatoes, patience, and how laughter could fix more things than wires ever could. One evening, Noel brought out the small crystal. It's been calm since you left, he said, but now it's turning green again. Velia took it in her hand. It slowly shifted to blue. Then yellow. She gasped softly. Yellow means ... curiosity mixed with hope. Is that bad? Noel asked. Velia smiled. No, it means something is growing, slowly, kindly. They looked at the sky as the stars began to shine above. For the first time, Velia didn't feel like a visitor. She felt like a part of something, not a report. Not a mission. Just something warm and real. Velia's return to Havenfield brought quiet excitement to the colony. People no longer stared or whispered when she passed by. They smiled, waved, and sometimes asked her questions instead. She was no longer just a princess from another world. She was Velia, the one who helped carry heavy toolboxes, who planted flower seeds near the library, and who once got confused by a toaster. Life was simple, but it felt full. Noel and Velia worked together often. In the mornings, they fixed small machines around the colony. In the afternoons, they added a new section to the garden, a corner just for bright-colored plants from Earth and Zalari soil. Velia named it the Friendship Patch. It doesn't grow fast, she said, watering it gently, but it grows kindly. One day, while Velia was helping Noel repair a broken wind panel, she asked a strange question. Noel, do you believe emotions are a weakness? He looked up from his tools. No, I think they're like water, can be soft or strong, but always needed. Velia nodded. Many Zalari think emotions are dangerous. Unstable, maybe, Noel said. But without emotions, how would we know joy or care, or when something truly matters? Velia smiled slightly. I used to think like them. but now I'm not so sure. Later that evening, she added something new to her notebook. Observation 122. Humans use emotion not just to react, but to guide. Their feelings shape action. This may not be weakness. It may be wisdom. As days passed, Velia and Noel started something unexpected, a learning club. It was small at first. Just a few curious children and 2 elders. But soon, others joined. They called it the Earth Zalari Exchange Circle. Each day, someone brought a question. Sometimes a human child would ask, why do Zalari float when they sleep? Or a Zalari visitor might ask, why do humans dance when no one is watching? There were no wrong answers. Only stories, laughter, and shared wonder. Velia even taught the group how to write Zalari symbols in soil. Using a stick, one child, Lila, asked, what does this symbol mean? Velia replied, it means peace between different hearts. Noel smiled from the side. A good symbol for this whole place. That evening, Velia gave Noel a small gift, a hand-woven bracelet made of thin silver wires and earth thread. I made it during rest breaks. She said, it's not perfect. Noel took it gently and wore it at once. It's better than perfect, it's real. She looked down. I wanted to say thank you for giving me space to change. Noel nodded. You changed, yes. But I think you just found your real self. They both sat quietly, watching the sky turn orange as the sun lowered. The next day, a message arrived from the Zalari Council. It was calm, but clear. Your presence on the human colony remains under review. We acknowledge the wide broadcast of your report. You may continue your stay, but must present a final summary in 1 week. The report must include cultural, emotional, and scientific details. Velia stared at the message for a long time. A final report? Noel asked. Yes, she said. It may decide how our 2 species interact in the future. Then write it your way, he said. Not with numbers, but with meaning. Velia looked inspired. I think I will. That evening, she began her writing. Her new report was different from the first one. It had simple titles like, What Bread Means to Humans, How Quiet Can Be a Language, Why a Smile Feels Like Light. She wrote about how humans laugh even when sad, how they remember things with scent, how kindness can be silent but strong. At the end of the report, she added, Final note, I came to study mating cycles. But I found something far deeper. Humans do not love because of seasons or logic. They love by choice, by trust, and by the small things they do every day. They do not need to explain this with numbers. They simply show it, and now. I have seen it too. One evening, as they watered the garden together, Noel asked, Do you ever miss your old life? Velia thought for a moment. I miss my people. I miss the stars near my home planet. But I don't miss who I used to be, because I didn't understand half of myself. Noel looked at her, and now I feel whole, she said softly. Still learning, but no longer lost. As the stars blinked above them and the garden glowed gently under moonlight, something unspoken passed between them, not a report, not a test, but something real. Like warmth that didn't need a reason. Like connection that didn't need a season. The final day of Velia's report deadline had arrived. The morning sun gently lit the fields of Havenfield. Birds flew low over the rooftops and the soft hum of wind turbines turned in the distance. Everything looked the same, but something felt important, like the whole colony was quietly waiting. Velia stood outside Noel's cabin, holding her completed report in both hands. It wasn't heavy, but it carried something deeper than facts. It held a journey hers. Noel stepped outside and offered her a warm drink. Ready? Velia nodded. Yes, I must send this report today. Do you feel nervous? She looked up. Only a little. But this time, I'm not hiding anything. In the colony's main communication room, Velia stood before a large glowing screen. A few colonists stood behind her. Noel sat quietly in the back. She opened the channel to the Zalari Council. Soon, 12 figures appeared, tall, calm, and glowing with silver robes. One of them spoke. "Princess Velia, we have received your final summary. Do you wish to speak?" Velia stepped forward. Her voice was clear, calm, and full of emotion. "Yes, Council. I came here to observe. I expected to collect data and return with answers. Instead, I found something I never planned to measure. I found that humans are not ruled by cycles. They do not need signals to care for one another. They choose. Freely, gently, every day." She paused. "I learned that what makes them strong is not only their minds, but their hearts. Their laughter, their kindness, their patience. It is their true science. I did not expect to feel it, but I did. And now I cannot pretend I didn't." The council members were silent for a moment. Then the elder speaker said, "We sense strong emotion in your words, Princess." Velia nodded. "I do not deny it. Emotion is not weakness. It is connection." The council looked among themselves. Then the speaker said, "Your report will be kept. Your findings will be reviewed by all knowledge sectors. Your stay on Havenfield is approved, if you choose to remain." Velia's eyes widened. "You mean I can stay?" "Yes, as student, observer, or something more." The screen dimmed. The call ended. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Noelle stood and clapped once. Others followed. Velia looked down, a smile spreading across her face. She turned toward Noelle. "I didn't expect that," he smiled. "Neither did I, but I hoped." That evening, the colony celebrated in a simple way. Lanterns were hung around the garden. Children ran around the field. Music played from an old speaker, and laughter filled the air. Velia sat beside Noelle, wearing a small flower tucked behind her ear, a gift from one of the children. "You look peaceful," Noelle said. "I feel peaceful," she replied. "And curious, and a little excited." "Good mix," he said, sipping tea. She looked around the gathering. "Your people are strange, Noelle, but wonderful. And you're not just a visitor anymore." "No," she said with a soft smile. "I think I'm part of the story now." Later that night, the two of them walked toward the garden, the friendship patch they had planted together. The flowers were small but full of color. Some glowed faintly in the moonlight. Velia stopped walking and turned to Noelle. "There's something I've been thinking about." "What is it?" he asked. "When I first arrived, I wanted to prove something to my people, to myself. I thought love was a simple process, a cycle that could be studied. And now? Now I know love isn't something that follows rules. It grows, like this garden, quietly, slowly, but with care." Noelle smiled. "You don't need to prove anything anymore." She looked into his eyes. "I know. That's why I choose to stay. Not for science, not for duty, just because it feels right." Noelle's voice lowered. "Then stay and grow with us." They stood close, not saying more, just letting the breeze move through the flowers, letting the silence speak. Above them, the stars blinked, gently watching, glowing, listening. The next morning, Velia placed a small sign at the edge of the garden. It read, "Proof not required, growth chosen." And beneath it, in smaller writing, "Started by a curious princess and a quiet human." The colony would remember it for years to come, not just as a garden, but as a beginning. And so the human and the alien princes stayed side by side, not because they were the same, but because they had chosen to understand each other. And in that simple choice, something beautiful bloomed.